What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Crash Course Casino. We got with us today our buddy. He's actually making his debut here on the Crash Course Metal Show, and we have none other than Jay Brandon. What's going on, man?
Well, I am glad to finally be here on the Crash Course Metal Show. I've been a fan for a while and watched it, and I'm glad this opportunity has arose.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're doing a little pre-gaming, if you will, before we jump on the hairband basement, basically, a little
That's
bit
right.
later. So definitely, we will not give away what we're going to do over on Brian's channel. You guys will just have to wait and find that out yourselves. But tonight, or as of right now, for pre-game, we are going to be doing a little bit. We're going to the casino here. We're going to have pound some beers. We're going to do some fun shit here before pre-gaming here. So Jay, my man, you want to spin the wheel? Just you want to go up on on the prices, right? Just spin the wheel for me.
I used to love it when Barker hosted that show.
Yes. When you go back and listen or like to watch some of his episodes, it's like a whole different world back then. Like he said anything, just anything went kind of.
Spin that wheel. And spin it hard, Joey. Don't get booed. I don't know if I've ever had a man not get that thing all the way around. That would be humiliating. Don't try to finesse it so much you get yourself embarrassed by being. You finessed it. Are you going to spin it again now on 50 cents? Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Finesse it around there to 50 cents again. Now spin it. Joey, what are you doing? That's not going to go all the way around. No, it's not going. There. Look, let's hear it. You are the first man ever to not get the wheel all the way around. I want put his name down in Price is Right history. The sissy of all time on the Price is Right.
Ooh, okay. So Jay, first one here that we have is Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses' first solo record. Do you believe in me? Do you know anything about this?
I remember hearing it back when it was released. I had a friend who was a huge Guns N' Roses fan. And I mean, he got this. He got Slash's Snake Pit album.
Mm.
Um, I remember. I mean, I don't remember track listing or anything off this, but I do remember he had a pretty stellar lineup of guest musicians, and the music was. I remember some of it had a little bit of a punk edge to it. I remember there being a lot of good stuff. I mean, it wasn't Guns N' Roses, which is great. I mean, it was a real good, solid album.
Hmm. Yeah. To your point, like there was kind of a decent, I don't want to say like a revolving door of musicians, but there was a decent amount of musicians that came in, guested and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as like the album, I think it sold like roughly 100,000 copies, so it was somewhat of a flop, I guess, when you're comparing it to like Guns N' Roses. But I mean, for
Right.
1993, like, yeah,
But for
like the,
93, anything of a hard rock persuasion, unless you were one of those big marquee bands, if you sold anywhere in the six figures, that was as good as platinum in my mind.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not even sure exactly what the actual like singles were off of this. Because you had the title track, obviously. That's a decent
Right.
one. Man in the Meadow was pretty good. I do remember that one. I don't get to this album a lot because I just don't think it's that good to begin with. Like you said, there is some like very heavy punk rock elements to some of these songs. Fuck You's okay. Lonely Tonight. There's so Could It Be You is kind of like a slower ballad type feel if I remember correctly. But you know, I don't want to say it kind of disappointed me. Obviously, coming like, oh, Guns N' Roses, like this album cover looks pretty cool, like Guns N' Roses. Like expecting a little bit of the same. Duff still looked badass, like when this album released, like on the back picture, it's like him kind of like just passed out or whatever, your classic Guns N'
Right.
Roses shit. So, but yeah, to me, it's just an okay album. I wouldn't go out now. If you're a diehard Guns N' Roses fan, you love everything Guns N' Roses did, of course, then you should probably check this out. But it is certainly not in like the top 200 albums of hair metal, in my opinion. It
Oh,
might not even.
I would agree with you on that. I mean, it was something that was cool to listen to. And I mean, I suppose if I were to find it in a dollar bin somewhere, I'd probably pick it up
Hmm.
at this point, even just because of nostalgia. Give a listen to it again because I haven't heard it in 30 years or whatever. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I will definitely give kudos to Duff or anybody else that was in one of those big bands that did a solo project just to kind of get a little bit more themselves out, to their fan base.
Yeah. And to your earlier point of Slash a Snake Pit, that came out like what, around 94-ish?
Yeah, it was around. Trying to remember if it was before or after the spaghetti incident. I want to say it was before, but not by much.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, 93, 90, early 94.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I have that as well, and that's another one I just don't really get to. Not nothing hateful on it by any means or anything, but it's just like
Right.
I don't when I listened to it like the last time like a year or two ago, I honestly don't remember anything from it. So, you know.
Yeah, I know. I mean, he really came into his stride as a solo persona, if you will, later on.
Mhm.
Obviously, you know, there was Velvet Revolver, which, wasn't solo, but then when he really started doing the stuff with Miles Kennedy,
Yeah.
it is when he really started releasing a lot of memorable stuff under just his own name or, him and the conspirators, however you want to call it.
Hmm. Yeah, that kind of like when with Miles Kennedy, that's when I really took notice of him like coming into the mainstream. To your point, you know. So yeah, all right. So that is Duff, basically Duff's solo album, and I have a feeling I didn't listen to any of his other solo stuff. So I feel like it's kind of
I haven't
all over
either.
the map, you know. So, but I could be wrong on that because, like I said, I'm not too familiar. Okay, so this Jay, this is a very obscure. Yeah, how you mentioned earlier about there's some
I
obscure
don't have a
stuff
clue
here.
what this is.
This is radioactive cats. Do you know who they are by chance?
I have never heard of them, but I'm a
Okay.
cat fan. So just because of
Oh,
that reason alone, I'm going to have to find this and check it out.
okay. If you find this out in the wild, you cannot miss it because it is like nuclear green. Like it is like Winger Nitro green. You know how like Nitro's second album is green?
Yeah.
Like green case and everything. It's pretty much the same thing as this. So it's easy to spot like when you're out like record hunting and stuff. So the best way I can kind of describe this album to you, this might be a little bit of a grower because it falls. There's a little bit of hair metal. It's obviously hair metal, but like there's a little bit of rockabilliness to it. Not so much as like a Graveyard Train. Not as bluesy as that. It's a little bit more upbeat than that, but it's super hard to explain because I can't really compare. There's not really another band that really has this sound, but this was early '90s and just actually Wayne's World did a little promo thing. Like if you watch their music video, Radioactive Cats music video, Wayne and Garth like had the album in his hand and he's holding like these nuclear gloves holding this album and he's like why are you wearing these nuclear gloves like radioactive gloves? And he goes like this is a radioactive album. And
Okay, this is the Radioactive Cats album, all right? So take a look quick so I can put it back in the lead line box.
Garth, that's the name of the group.
Oh. I thought they were called the Cats and the album itself. I feel like a complete idiot.
You told out, my friend.
because it's cool. Actually, it's really cool to see like Wayne's World, like the first one, really kind of like prop up some of these lesser known bands like Kicks. They even had Cinderella on. You know, they had like, and then obviously doing a little promo here for Radioactive Cats. Like no one knows who Radioactive Cats is, and it's just cool to see like a big movie like that, somewhat of a big movie. Certainly
Well,
a cult
there's
classic.
there's a beautiful thing about movies back then. They would seek out, you know, a little bit of lesser known stuff. Like one of my favorite movies from that time period was Harley Davidson and the Marlboro. And
Okay,
if you find, look at the credits, I mean, there was a band called the Screaming Jets had a couple songs in that movie, and I love those songs. Black Eyed Susan, which was Dizzy D. Davison's band after Britney Fox,
right.
et cetera, et cetera. You can find that kind of stuff in those movies, and it's a lot more a lot more cool than them just, buying the rights, sticking some random shit in a soundtrack that we've all heard before.
Yeah, I agree. And that's I think that's one of the biggest charms of the first Wayne's World. Like I could listen to that soundtrack all the way through. Now, yes, there are like a couple like mainstream songs, like Rock Candy, but Bullet Boys, it's the Bullet Boys version. So that's kind of like more on the low key side of things. You had like Dreamweaver, which like everyone knows that song. But like
Right.
there's like a good amount Cold Chills from Kicks. How does that get on a soundtrack? Like that's just awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit bizarre, but very cool.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. And that's one of the things I absolutely love. I mean, I love that movie because it brings me back to like when I was like 8, 10 years old. But it's just a great movie in general, but the soundtrack really like helps it like propel it. So
Oh, absolutely.
all right. So that was one that I know a lot of people don't realize, but I would certainly check it out though. Since like you said, you're a cat guy, so you might actually love the album cover and everything. So
Yeah, I mean, my cats might even find it very cool. So,
there you go. They might find it radioactive, huh? So
mhm.
okay. So Jay, can you tell me a little bit about this? I know you know this album, Great White's Hooked.
uh, well, I am a fairly big Great White fan. Ever since the second I heard once their cover of Once Bitten, Twice Shy,
Hmm.
Hooked, um, it had some good stuff. It had what was it, Call It Rock and Roll
Yeah,
was a great song. Uh, Desert
love
Moon,
Loving
I
Kind.
really, yeah. To me, they started going a little bit more bluesier on this album. I mean, we'd actually, me and Brian and guy off from X, referred to as Amish guy, did a video of just the other night, and this album got brought up. When a band, you know, hits a certain plateau of success, they can kind of do a little bit more of what they really feel or want to do. Well, this would be that point to me for Great White, where you know they had achieved that mainstream success and they were allowed a little bit more freedom, so they get a little bit more bluesy. Um, and what the hell was one after this? Was
Psycho
Psycho?
City.
Yeah, I mean that was another further step in it,
Hmm.
where they get more, bring back more of their blues influence. And this album had a little bit of filler to it, but I mean, a lot of solid shit.
Yeah, to your point of the filler. Now, generally, I would say this is like one of the Great White albums that a top three Great White album, in my opinion. But there are a couple covers on here, which I always seem to forget because they do make Great White does make those covers like kind of like their own. Like
Yeah,
Afterglow is a cover, which I didn't realize that until like a couple months ago, and I listened to it all my life, and I thought it was a Great White song. So, and I like that song. And now I want to ask you this question here because you brought up the previous two albums when they called like more mainstream success. I do agree with you that they went. This is where they really went blues. Like they were getting lukewarm to the blues the previous two albums with Once Bitten, Twice Shy. And now, do you think Call It Rock and Roll was kind of like their attempt at making an original Once Bitten, Twice Shy song?
yeah, very, very much so. It's too similar musically to
Hmm.
not be a blatant ripoff in a way, but all at this point, at that point, every chord, every note has been played. It's a matter of arranging them in a way nobody else has heard before, and you don't always hit that. So maybe subconsciously they wanted to go in that way. I think they may have went a little bit too far, but it's still a cool song.
Yeah, and I could understand why this I guess you could say was a letdown. I mean, that might be a little bit too harsh because I don't see it as that. But as like your Great White fans coming off Once Bitten and Twice Shy, It's certainly more bluesy, which a lot of people have issue with that, especially when you're talking Cinderella to Heartbreak Station. So that's certainly the biggest example. But I think it still went gold, I think. Hook did. And
Um, I think it did because I do remember that, I remember hearing Desert Moon on the radio. I remember hearing
yeah,
Call It
Desert
Rock and
Moon,
Roll
yeah.
on the radio quite a bit.
hmm Yeah, Desert Moon is a really good song. But
Hmm.
I think a reason why this album also too was a letdown to a lot of like casual fans. Those two songs that you just mentioned, Call It Rock and Roll and Desert Moon, are really like the only two like mid-tempo, fast-paced rockers, if you will. Everything else is in that very mid-tempo to slower bluesiness stuff, and or a ballad. And I think that's where you're kind of a lot of people don't like this album because of that. If they don't like blues that much, you know.
Right. And, any music taste is subjective to whatever listener is pulling it up. Me, I don't mind, you know, blues based hard rock. Do I want a lot of it? Mm, Not so much, but it does have its moments and it has its place. And
Yeah.
far be it for me or anybody else to, take away from what a band really wants to do. I mean, they wanted to go in this direction, they went that way. As long as they're happy with, their effort, that's really the bottom line at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Definitely. Now, I prefer this version of Great White and even to the modern 2000s version of Great White compared to that like first two albums of Great White. Do you want to touch a little bit on the first two albums maybe before they made starting to
Well,
make that
I
shift?
I heard it was before Hooked came out. I had heard I was at a secondhand store and I found the that stick it on it and it's
hmm
a vinyl, and I really did enjoy that. It was nice to hear them doing, something that was heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, most people would not guess that they had that in their repertoire if what they heard them do first was the song Once Bitten, Twice Shy.
hmm Yeah.
And then I remember, because they did always do a lot of covers. On Shot in the Dark, they did a cover of Give Me Your Lovin' by Spencer Davis Group. And
Okay.
I fucking loved that version of it. I still listen to that version of it today. And I think it's great.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Good deal. You always get a good mix of people if they like those, like that debut EP and Shot in the Dark, like or the second album, and very good. There's never seems to be a lukewarm. It's either people love it or it's like, nah, just give me the blues, version of Great
Right.
White. But all right, so that's our piece for Great White there. And now we just spun up here the debut of Black and Blue. Can you talk to me about this, Jay?
Of I'd call it borderline a masterpiece.
Oh shit, really? Okay. All right.
Well, let's look at the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
We had Tommy Thayer pre Kiss,
Mm-hmm.
or pre Ace Frehley, or however you want to call it. Jamie St. James was a great singer. Um, Pete Holmes ended up being in a reiteration of Rat. How was it? Wasn't that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
Playing drums. I think musically, Hold On to 18 is what I heard from them first. And I still love that song. Um, I think the cover of Action is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Chains Around Heaven was a great song,
Yeah.
my opinion. But yeah, this is, I mean, you kind of got to be a fan of them or you have no clue who they are. Because really, Hold On to 18 is the only thing that grabbed the attention. But I have this little thing if I hear a song from a band and I like it, well, then I do a huge deep dive into them. I
Oh
buy
yeah.
everything I can find. I listen to everything, and then sometimes I end up being a huge fan of the band. Um, the output from Black and Blue over the years has not obviously been a lot, but I certainly did follow Jamie when he was in Warrant. Tommy Thayer, blah blah blah. So
Okay. All right. Yeah. Uh, this is a band that I don't really get into much, although I will say in Heat, Black and Blue, I really like that album. I really dig that album a lot. This one here, though, like a lot of people, like you said, call it great, call it a almost masterpiece. They give it a very good rating and score. I don't really get to it that much. I actually probably visit the other three from the original run of Black and Blue more than the debut, actually. I don't know
cool.
if it's just because I don't really care for that early 80s sound too much with a lot of bands. I think that's probably why I don't really care for Great White's first couple albums either. Just that
Well,
early 80s, like in Twisted Sister, I'm not a fan of, like bands like that.
well,
But
this reminiscent of something that me and Brian discussed. We did a 85 mixtape episode for his channel,
Mhm.
and 85 seems to me to be about the linchpin where stuff really made a shift. 85 and before, everything still almost had a little bit of a metallic quality.
Yes.
And it didn't, I mean, it may have looked glam or sleaze or whatever, but it still had a heaviness to it that, in some cases, disappeared just a couple years later. I mean, Bon Jovi would be a great example of that, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because 7800 Fahrenheit, it had a harder edge to it than New Jersey by far, and there was only one album separating those two.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
So, I
And
mean,
you
things,
could even say Rat too, for
oh, absolutely.
example. Hmm. Yeah.
I mean, Out of the Cellar definitely is far more metallic than
Uh,
anything after it.
Reach for the Sky.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, you could say the same about Detonator, although, I love Detonator.
I do
But,
too. Yeah, Detonator is my favorite Rat album. So, but it's not heavy though, like Invasion of Your Privacy. It's just not.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's like one, I don't know if you want to credit or blame Motley Crue for it, but when Home Sweet Home came out, that seemed to have changed how people went about things.
Hmm.
Whether that's good or bad, it's subjective.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I don't really care for Home Sweet Home, I'm more on the camp of Alone Again from Dokken as being the first true power ballad. So, but like that's a great point though. That is around the time, same time for both of them, or the same time, and it started to shift. Then you started songs weren't as in your face or straightforward, I guess is the more of a better term. You got a
Right.
little bit more melodic, which like I said, I just don't get to that pre 85 that much anymore. But there is still good stuff there. But I just feel like 88 to 93 is where all the gold is, like more times than not compared to
Well,
pre
yeah,
85.
and I can agree with that certainly. I mean, there is a lot of bands who one would say were late to the party for whatever reason that got one real good album out, maybe two, and
Mhm.
they are among my favorite bands. Wild Side would be
Yes,
a prime
100%.
example of that. Under the Influence is it's highly revered to me, and I think probably a whole bunch of other people, but sales never reflected it.
No, I agree with you. That is a album that defines 88 to 93 in
Mhm.
hair metal. That if you want to show someone the best of everything in the hair metal world, look no further than Under the Influence, in my opinion. So
I agree.
I'm with you. Yeah. All right. All right, good deal. So that's our little piece there on Black and Blue as well. So let's see what we got here next, Jay. Oh, okay. Kick Tracy's debut album, No
Oh,
Rules. Can you talk to me
I,
about that?
I didn't hear Kit Tracy until, oh, Jesus, probably 5 years ago or so. I mean, I had heard of them before, but I
Hmm.
had never heard them. And I was on a CD shopping spree and I picked up this exact album. And my first opinion of it was, okay, I can see why Motley Crue did not hire Steven Schroeder to replace Vince Neil.
Okay.
That was my first thought. And I'm glad they didn't. Okay. Um, but the when it started off with no rules, I'm like, I had looked at the liner notes because that's what I do. And I'm like, I see Dana Strum had some involvement.
Produces it. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he did has some co-writes and he has the producing credit. But when I heard that song, I'm like, this sounds like it could very easily be a Slaughter song. Could be on Stick It To You very, very easily.
Really
If you
interesting. I never thought of that before.
listen to the drums and the bass of Don't Need Rules, and then listen to some of the tracks off Stick It To You, it's eerily similar.
Okay. All right.
But their cover of Mrs. Robinson was really cool. Big Western Sky, I think
Hmm.
most people that have heard it really enjoy that song. I am one of those. Um, but I think it's a great album. I think they kind of, like a lot of bands around that time period, there was just so much for fans to choose from. They got lost in the shuffle.
Hmm.
They had great musicianship. They had good songs. They had a great product. It just was too much of what everybody else was doing, where there was nothing that stood out to have radio and MTV really light a fire on it. Plus, if I remember right, this was on MCA Records.
I believe so. Yes.
And if that's the case, MCA didn't do anybody any favors.
No. Yeah, yeah, that's where bands go to die, sadly. You know, yeah. So they are on. Let me look that up just to confirm here. New Rules 1991. RCA.
RCA. So I
Yes,
was I was
RCA.
close.
Yeah. Well, that's three
Well,
words
still,
still. Yeah.
still we won't exactly call that a premium label by
No,
any means.
no.
It's not Geffen, and it's not Atlantic, it's not Electra.
Right. So, okay, we'll look here at the track listings quick. Like you said, I do like the cover, actually. That's a decent
Yeah,
cover.
it's very cool.
I think You're So Strange is awesome. That's an awesome song. I love how he sings that, especially at that end chorus there. Like you really have he has the emotion in that song. Great song. But see, the issue for me though, you have 14 tracks here. Now some are like I think like one or two are little intros here. One's just an outro, like for 30 seconds, 40 seconds. So everything else is a track. So you had 13 total tracks. Jay, I know you probably heard me rant about this. Why do I need 14 tracks here on this album? Why? Can you explain to me why, possibly?
Actually, I can't. I mean,
Okay.
it seems like, from a musician standpoint, 10 is the number I would like to put on a CD, never more than 12.
I'm
Um,
with you.
at that point, I mean, you don't want to be a drag to your listener, and that's just too much. I mean,
Yes.
even if you end up becoming a huge fan of that album, at some point you're going to be like, it's still too much. I mean,
Hmm.
keep a
Very
couple
few.
songs for B-sides or whatever,
Yeah.
but
Very few exceptions that albums have 12 tracks, and they are awesome. Very few exceptions, which we actually did just talk about one, and that was Wild Side, Under the
Right.
Influence. That's 12, and that I don't know if you can take a track off, quite honestly.
The only one, I mean, this album I've discussed it with some other people on various podcasts, and some people don't like the song "Lad and Sin," and I am
Oh,
not one of those. I fucking love
I
that
do
song.
too.
Oh, it's incredible. I would say if you were to want to nitpick anything off Under the Influence, uh, that little guitar piece that Brent Woods has, Drunk Man Blues or
That's
Drunk,
true. Yeah, yep, yep.
you could make the
Okay.
argument to get rid of that,
Yeah.
which considering the stuff that they cut off that album and ended up being on, later releases,
Hmm.
I don't see why they cut a song like Easy as 1, 2, 3
Yeah,
and
that's a
put
good song.
that on there. But
I agree. I agree. I mean, like I said to Ryan before the show, we got on Wild Side as well. I don't know how that happens, but it's a great problem to have, honestly.
oh yes.
But I could talk about Wild Side for hours on end. So, but the reason why where that all started was I asked about if you could give me a reason why we have 14 tracks. Now, because here, like we said, this is a good album, but why are we? This could easily be 10 tracks. You can take out uh Trash City. You could take out Generation Landslide or Generation Express. Like there are tracks here. Now I will say the last the B side is actually pretty strong. I actually really
Right.
really
And
like.
Soul Shaker is one of my favorite cuts off here.
I agree. I agree. Soul Shaker, even Tangerine Man, Velvet Crush has that like very early 90s, not necessarily hair metal sounding, but like it has a good this album does have a good mixture of you could put it in 1993 and if it actually had some backing and some marketing behind it, people would
Right.
be
And
cool with it, yeah, Rattlesnake Eyes, awesome. Romeo Blues are like pretty cool, like slower mid-tempo track to really finish out. I like this, but this does not need this is I do get tired though. Even as great as that B-side is, I'm tired of it by the time we even start side B, because that's where a lot of the weak tracks are is a side A, in my opinion.
mhm.
So yeah, that's my kind of my thought there on a little deep dive on Kick Tracy. Although I love it because I had it in high school and I loved it then. I still like it, although I don't get to it as much as I used to. I will say that. Um,
Right. And I mean, really, with the way things go now, I mean, everybody's busy with stuff. So, I mean, you're stuck listening to a couple songs here or there, unless you're like some people who actually get an evening where they can sit down and put on a few albums and listen to the whole thing and make an experience out of it. I'm not one of those people that has that sort of time available.
neat, right?
So, um, I mean, I listen to stuff in my truck or whatever when I'm driving somewhere is where I pretty much am consuming my music intake.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's a lot of digital stuff now for me. Like, well, physical to digital that transfer. But like, I rarely just sit at my turntable here and put on an album and listen to it. But yeah, okay. So we have here. Can you talk to me a little bit about Extreme's debut album?
Oh, geez, this is this is one of my favorite bands. Uh,
Okay,
I saw Extreme live. I want to say it was in 17, and I would say it's almost a religious experience considering I'm a guitar player, and we are talking about Nuno Bettencourt here.
correct.
Um,
Yeah.
I think this album isn't the greatest in terms of if you want a whole picture of what they were and are as a band. This is far more hard rock than what they actually are, if that makes sense. Because if you listen to stuff further down the line where they had the carte blanche to do what they wanted, you heard a lot of different textures and styles. Um, but as far as this album goes, Play With Me would have been the first thing I heard, and that was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Yep.
Um, Kid Ego is my favorite song off the album.
Hmm.
Um, what was that? Don't
Smoke
want to go to
Signals?
school today.
You a fan
That
of
song,
Smoke?
that song was awesome. The rest of it's, I mean, it's solid. It's not a lot of it stands out as far as today, but I will still easily listen to Kid Ego or Play With Me. I mean, they're both in my media player shuffle still.
Okay. All right. Yeah. It's a good album. But this is not the one that I will gravitate to. Although there
I
are
would
some
pick Porno Graffiti over this.
yeah.
Uh,
Talk to me.
definitely.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about Three Sides to Every Story? Because I'm not sure if I have it on the wheel here or not. I can't remember.
Um, there's a song on there that's kind of split into three parts.
Oh yeah.
I'm a bigger fan of part A than I am part B and C or one, two, three, however
Hmm.
you want to call it. Um, there's a song called Warheads, and I really love that song. And it opens up the album. Rest in Peace. I love that song. I remember it got the shit played out of it by MTV back in the day. That's where I caught that song at initially was on might have been on the top 100 videos of 92,
Oh,
I
okay.
think. It cracked onto there. Um, the song Tragic Comic, I do
Hmm.
enjoy. It was on there. But I mean, every part of it is kind of its own thing. And I'm a bigger fan of the first part because it's more hard rock.
Yeah. Not
The,
so is progressive the right word? Like as what they were trying to do with that album? Is that the right? I don't know if that might be
I
too
don't know if that'd be the right word. Exploratory, absolutely.
okay. Yeah. Longer
Um,
tracks.
well, they're still that way today. If you get their latest album that has Rise on it,
Hmm.
and I have it, and Rise is almost like its own animal. There's stuff on there you would be inclined to think there's no way it's the same band because
Okay.
it's that far removed from hard rock. But that's what they've always done after their debut album. You know, you look at Porno Graffiti, you had More Than Words. More Than Words is not money by
Yeah.
or
In God We Trust.
right.
Or, yeah, I
It,
agree.
it'd
What's
be hard to think even back then that it was the same band.
yeah, what's the one that's like real like jazzy kind of waiting? Or no, is that or is that off this album? Uh it's like it, met you or what's the one where he's like it's kind of like just Gary just singing the whole song with like uh, it's like a coffee shop type song. Met you at the top of the tower or something. Where I
I
first kissed you or where I first missed or
I am trying
you
to
know what?
remember. I'm drawing a blank off what
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna figure this out right
let
now.
Google be our friend on this.
Yes, I'm gonna use the internet here. So, all right, extreme porno graffiti. Hopefully, nothing else comes up when I write that in there. Okay, there we go. All right, let's look at the track listing. So we got Little Jack Horny is really good. When I first kissed you, yeah. Because when I said that, I was thinking of the Kiss song. But yeah. So this is the one that when I first kissed you. You remember how that goes? It's kind of like a coffee. Like it's just real laid back. Gary's just singing it basically. Very little instrumentation. But it actually works kind of. But to your point though, very experimental kind of. You wouldn't expect. That's even more experimental than something like uh More Than Words is.
Right, more words. I mean, you could say that was your typical. It wasn't a power ballad by any stretch of the imagination,
Hmm.
but that was almost a typical ballad at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah. Pretty
mean, Bon
much.
Jovi had already done the thing of, just guitar and voice and cut out everything else. It made it a little bit less cheesy is the right word.
I don't know.
But
You're talking about Bon Jovi, so there's a lot of cheese there, Jay.
yeah, that's true.
All right. So I didn't know Extreme was one of your favorites. So that's good to know. That's good to know. So you like the new album that they recently
I
released?
do.
Okay.
I remember when they dropped Rise and I heard Nuno solo and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I remember thinking, there's no way am I ever going to be able to play that. My hat will forever be off to that man.
I have not heard the album yet, so you're the second person that has brought that up. So I am gonna have to listen to that here, like very, very soon. So, all right, so this is a little bit more of a niche one as well, but we in our little community here, we do talk about this album a good amount, and this is Alley Cat Scratch, Dead Boys in
I have
Trash City.
heard the name,
Hmm.
but I have not heard anything that they've done.
Okay.
Um, there's a group on Facebook called Glam Rock City, and I've seen people mention them in there.
Hmm.
Um, I've just never got as far as checking them out yet.
Okay. I would certainly say 1993 this came out. It kind of sounds like how this album cover looks. A little it does have a flavor of punk to it. Very not so sleazy as far as like Second Coming, Shotgun Messiah or Spread Eagle even. A little
Okay.
bit more punky, yeah, a little bit more I don't even want to say edgy because like those two bands I just mentioned are very edgy as well. Uh, but there's like a little bit of a goth feel slightly to it. But yeah, it's certainly worth checking out. They have a great song, "Take a Bite Out of Me." That song could have been a hit in 1989. It could have, but 1993, obviously, everyone has to get fucked because
Right.
not depressive stuff is coming into this world. So in the music world, anyway.
Fuck me, right?
But great ballad though too on here. I always forget to mention "Roses on My Grave." Great ballad. But yeah, I do always gotta give props to this band because they pretty much put like hung their hat up in 1994 ish because they saw the writing on the wall for the just the whole
Right.
genre. And they were like, "Yeah, we're pretty much done. We're gonna do one last show here in LA or San Fran or wherever they were from there in that California area." And they just went out swinging, and they went out on their terms. Basically, they didn't change
Well,
shit, and that's
and you
awesome.
got to give them, props for that. So many guys didn't get a choice to say how they ended up
Hmm. Yeah.
in the big picture of things. And if someone got to do it on their own terms, that's respect.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing because like I always do feel for people like for bands. Like, yeah, you're in this contract. You are kind of tied. Like you do need to eat at some point. You do need to bring money in. Like this band is your business, more or less. So like, yeah, if this style isn't working anymore, it is that fine line of like selling out. And you hate to do that, but at the same time, when you're hungry, you'll kill somebody to eat. Like I don't
Right.
know. It's hard. It's and you don't want to go get a day job. None of
Right.
these guys want to do that. They're so close to
Right. And
success
that's
like that.
that's the bad thing about then as an artist. You had to kind of choose, are you going to stick to your guns, or do you want it that bad that you're willing to sell yourself short and do something you despise?
You're right.
And really, that's one of the very few pluses to the music industry today versus then. Now, anybody can do whatever the fuck they want, and there's an audience for it, and you can reach that audience a lot easier because of the internet. Back
Right.
then, you're kind of stuck.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. You got to play on their turf, basically,
Right.
by their rules. So yeah, I agree. And it's like I said, it's a fine line. Like, because obviously when you're young, you don't give a shit. You're like, oh, they sold out, or whatever. But like, now that I'm older, I'm like, I cannot totally understand why. Now it's not cool, but like, there's reasons to these things. So, all
Mhm.
right, Jay, we have Kane Roberts here. This is his 1991 album, right? Yeah, okay, yeah. So you're familiar with this album, then, correct?
Oh yes.
So please, yes, take the floor here.
This album manages to have my favorite power ballad on it. Uh,
Really?
does anybody really fall in love anymore? And
Yep,
absolutely love that song.
that is a good song.
Um, I've heard, I know Bon Jovi played their hand in writing it. Um, I heard their version. I heard Cher's version. I like King Roberts' version.
Of
I
course.
like, I mean, he had, Desmond Child in his corner on this album, which I get. Um, he had a lot to prove, being Alice Cooper's sidekick or wingman or
Hmm.
however you want to call him. And he's a great guitar player. He stepped out solo, he does his own thing, and he's got a great voice. And the song Twisted, I absolutely love the song Twisted. Um, do I think he should have been a bigger success solo wise? Yes, I do. Am I surprised he wasn't a bigger success? No, I'm not.
Hmm.
Because I mean, you look at the history of people being in a band, then stepping out solo, whether it's him, whether it is Vince Neil, whether it's whoever. The
Steve
odds,
Stevens.
right? I mean, well, the odds are if you're in a band and you go solo, even if you're someone's wingman like he was, the odds of becoming a success pretty much stacked against you.
Hmm.
There's very few people that legitimately pulled it off, and most notably Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
You know, but you look at Vince when he was out of Motley Crue. Did he have some good stuff? Yeah. Was it a hit? Minorly. Do I like it? Yes. But was it deemed a success? No, not by any stretch of the imagination.
Hmm.
Um, with Kane Roberts, I would like to have seen a real. I know he released stuff after this. I would have liked to have seen something more, something
Okay.
that gave him a better chance at hitting.
Okay.
But look at the time frame we were in yet again. So this is 91. I mean,
Yeah,
we all
it
we
don't.
all know what happened.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if he released Back in Black in 1993. No one would have cared. You know.
Right.
Uh, I will say another track I like off of here, Wild Nights, the opening track. Very good.
Great song.
I like that song a lot. Do you now this album? I like it, but it's another one I don't really go back. There's a couple pieces I do, like I said, Wild Nights and the ballad. I do go. That is on the ballad playlist, but I
Yeah,
don't necessarily go back to the album as much. Now, can you tell me, because I'm not familiar with the album before this one? Can you
I
tell
have
me a little?
never heard the one he released
Okay.
before this. Actually, I've
Okay.
never found it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree. And it was hard as hell to find this one, Saints and Sinners here.
yeah, this one, I don't know. I've had it for years. I found it used in a pawn shop
Okay.
in the late '90s. That's where I stumbled across it. But really, I mean, the first side of this album, I think was there's not a bad cut on it in my opinion. Rebel Heart's a good song. Dance
Mhm.
Little Sister was a good
Yeah.
song. So, um, did those two songs have hit potential? No, but they certainly weren't filler. Um, they were good album cuts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Another name that just came to my head about how you say would jump from a band and not having any success. Although Kip Winger, was the bass player for Alice Cooper as well
Right,
during that era with Kane Roberts, and he had some success. I'm sure you're
right.
familiar with it.
Oh,
Everyone
right,
knows Winger.
right.
Yeah.
But I guess the question would be if Kip didn't have Paul Taylor and Reb Beach.
Right. Yeah. Well, and even to the point that Winger fought like hell to get recognized and to actually have a hit. Like the record company didn't even like that album, the debut album. Like
Right.
they didn't even like Winger. Like they had to literally. I guess it was Headed for a Heartbreak was like the actual first like what everyone knew Winger by. I'm not sure if it was 17 or not. I feel like Headed for a Heartbreak is what really kind of broke it for
Mhm.
Winger. So and then obviously the record company loved them after that. But like before
Well, of
then,
course,
man, they were like,
they became a cash cow, when
yeah,
that hit. But to
yeah,
me, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Winger, and Reb Beach he's
me
on
too.
my Mount Rushmore guitar players. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of that band. I think they're just as good now as they were on their first album. But
Hmm.
really, if you take away Reb and Paul Taylor, does Kip Winger become a success?
That's a good question. That's a good question. That's tough because like Kip's a great writer, great musician, but I agree.
Yes, he
Like
is.
Reb's playing is awesome. Like Reb's playing does make those songs come to life as well. That's tough because that whole lineup's good, man. Like
Oh,
that
hell
is
yeah.
like an all-star lineup. Uh, all right, Kane Roberts. I found out that you love this album now. That's good. That's good to hear because I don't hear too many people talking about that album. So,
I guess I have probably an interesting taste in music. Um, I like a lot of stuff that doesn't seem to get a whole lot of credit or thought by the general population. It works
hey,
for me.
yeah, I feel your pain, man. That's how I am. I hate talking about the certified artist, if you will. Like the platinums
I
and
hear you.
so. All right, so we have one more, or we have this one here coming up. We'll do a couple more here, Jay, and then we'll
All right, cool.
call it a night here at the casino. But we have here 1993's The Graveyard Train. Are you familiar
I,
with this album at all?
I'm familiar with the name, and I
Okay.
remember seeing that cover art. I
Ooh.
want to say in Metal Edge or maybe Rip or Circus or something like that back then in an ad, but
Okay.
I've never heard it.
Now it was on Geffen, so that's a plus. But obviously, 1993, no one gives a shit.
Right.
But man, this album, whenever I get a chance to talk about it, I will because it's awesome. Very bluesy, very like sleazy blues. Like I don't know if you could find me another band that can define sleazy blues other than Graveyard Train here. Like Robert Johnson and Stevie Ray Vaughan are like, whoa, what is this shit here? Like this is all they would even those awesome dudes would say this is badass. This album's badass. But like I especially like because I can kind of compare it a little bit to Heartbreak Station, but I don't ever want to do that because a lot of people hate Heartbreak Station, and this is way more heavier and sleazier than Heartbreak Station to begin with. So, but just the kind of uh uh there's a lot of different flavors kind of within blues and within metal in this because like I said there's even like a rockabilly song on this album as well, so like there's some different stuff, but there's no like Western, like Heartbreak Station, nothing like or like country bluegrass, whatever. But this is more in your face kind of stuff. Has a little bit of soul blues style to some of this, like very good. I think actually, because you like Great White, Mark Kent,
Yeah.
singer for this band, and Mark Kendall went on to do a project. I think I can't remember the name of the band, but I mean, that's just badass. Just Mark Kendall and this singer. Like this singer has a unique voice as well, and it's just absolutely crazy. But 1993, man, can't do nothing.
Yeah. I mean, in 93, unless you were from the Pacific Northwest or,
Very depressive. Yeah,
well, yeah, or unless you are, some of my heroes from the great state of Texas being Pantera,
yeah,
nobody gave two shits about you.
right, right. Yeah, that's I could only imagine what you guys went through as bands and as fans,
Yeah.
during that time. Like,
Um, I remember it wasn't, I mean, to the general public, it was not even cool to admit that you liked anything before Nirvana came out. And
mhm,
me, I never gave a shit then, and I certainly don't now. I mean, I was a huge fan, and still am, of Alice in Chains, because Alice in Chains, they predate grunge. Alice in Chains, to me, always has been a legitimate hard rock band. It just happened to be from Seattle.
100%. And dude, even like in the late 80s, you could see video footage of Alice in Chains and Lane Staley dressed in glam sleaze attire. Like,
Yeah, and there I know is footage that exists of them covering "Looks to Kill"
yeah.
and stuff like that. So, and
Mhm,
really, if you when you listen to any of the bands that came out in the grunge movement, you could tell the guys who had been around for a while and actually knew how to play their instruments.
mhm,
Uh, those bands were a cut above. In other words, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden.
mhm.
Uh, I didn't like Pearl Jam, but you could put to a point those guys in that same club. They were, I mean, they had spent their time paying their dues doing other shit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. But man, yeah, it's just amazing. I would not wish that upon my greatest enemy to live through that to live through that era, man. Like, and I'm
Yeah.
lucky that I didn't. So, but I'd be right there with you, man. I don't give a shit. Like, I would be buying all the fucking you know, on sale bins, the bargain bin albums, from a decade prior and such. And that's kind of what I did when I was in high school in 2005. Like, all of this shit that we're talking about here was in the dollar bin, the $2 bins for the CDs. Like, I was like a pig in shit, man. Like, I was happy as hell. Like, I got my whole
Well,
collection.
I'm as big a fan of fucking Debbie Gibson as I am of Slayer as I am of Lynch Mob. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
like everything, man.
I agree, man. That don't let anyone tell you anything else, because like whatever makes you feel is what you gotta listen to 100% all the time, and that's how I gotta live. Because if I start getting pushed into one certain way, I start getting an attitude. I don't want you just become a different person then. So, Jay, my man, do you got one more in you here? One more
Oh,
album?
hell yeah.
Okay, so
And this is a fucking masterpiece.
okay,
God, Skid Row is one of my easily one of my top 10 favorite artists ever. And no, it's not because of Sebastian Bach. I will give him credit back in this day and age. The first two albums, that dude had a set of pipes. And he's part of what made them what they are. But the fact remains, without those great songs that Snake and Rachel wrote, a voice doesn't mean shit.
hmm
Um, there's not a bad song on this album. Even it doesn't matter which version you have, the one with "Get the Fuck Out" or the one with "Beggar's Day." I, I remember the first time I heard "Monkey Business." I'm like, and that kicks in after that little bit of a clean intro, and I'm like, fuck. It's just kicked you right in the fucking nuts, and the album never quit. Um, it was a radical departure from their debut, and I commend them for it.
hmm
They didn't want to get lumped in with every other glam metal band, and as they should have been. They were harder than that. Um, you know, and to me, they followed the same thing that Pantera did, because Pantera back in the '80s was a glam metal band,
right.
and then they found their own way. Well, that just happened to be heavy as hell, and it's one of the reasons why I love them.
Okay.
But
Now, can you tell me a little bit about Subhuman Race then? Like, as far as like, where do
I
you put that
Subhuman
album?
Race, either people like it or they hate it.
hmm
I like it. I
Okay.
think the production on it, which considering it was Bob Rock that produced it, it sounds god awful. Um, I know it, they said that, they just kind of threw it together. And, there was a lot of turmoil in the band at that point. And, I
Mhm.
mean, they didn't even want to be around each other aside from, Snake, Rachel, and Scotty. But they should have taken a break and just kind of let the storm ride out. And things may have went better for them. But on Subhuman Race, there's a lot of great songs. They just
Mhm.
sound like shit. And
Okay.
considering what Bob Rock had done prior to this, I mean, Dr. Feelgood, the Black Album, the Cults album,
Hmm.
all these great albums. How did you get Subhuman Race to sound like that?
Yeah.
I mean, clearly, he didn't give a fuck, and they didn't give a fuck that he
That's
didn't.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Certainly Skid Row didn't give a fuck really at the time. I don't, to your point. Yeah, and that obviously would probably hindered Bob Rock, pulling teeth to get multiple cuts of different songs, and different takes.
right.
So,
But if you listen to Subhuman Race, I mean, Into Another is a great song. Beat Yourself Blind. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff on there. Eileen, uh, Breaking Down,
I like
Miami.
Breaking Down a lot. I do like that song.
And, I am a bigger fan of, Skid Row as time went on. I thought the stuff they did with Johnny Solinger was really, really good. Thick Skin is phenomenal. The only one I didn't care a lot for was Revolutions Per Minute.
Okay.
Um,
Were
and
you a
then
fan of Eric in the band?
I saw them with Eric in the band. Um, them and Buckcherry were a couple hours away from me right after the Gangs All Here came out, and I
Okay.
went, Jesus, that guy has pipes of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a damn shame that because of medical reasons, and I think there was more to it than that,
Yeah.
um, that he's no longer in the band. And I hope to see Skid Row back sometime sooner or later. But the fact that they're doing this on their terms,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure they've turned down a lot of money to get back with Sebastian, but the fact that they would rather have their piece over some extra dollars says a lot
Yeah,
about them.
it does.
And I mean, we know everything that Sebastian says in the press. As a musician, I wouldn't want to be in a band with that guy.
Yeah, I
Why
agree.
put yourself through the misery?
I agree, especially if you don't need the money either.
Right.
Which I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Skid Row got that big to really call it that kind of shot. Like, oh, I don't need the money, but but still, there to your point of like to live in peace and like to actually enjoy doing music. Like, I don't want to be around
Right.
that guy. Yeah, that just makes everything worse. And that makes life not worth living. To a point, so another thing that comes up with Slave to the Grind note, Jay, I want to get your take on is, do you consider this as like a letdown album? I guess the reason why that comes up is because I guess because of sales, album sales, more so than the music itself.
You,
Do you kind of have anything to say on
well,
on that kind of topic?
it can go both ways. Because I mean, this did debut at number one,
Yeah.
and their debut album didn't hit it. So there you're talking as a success. And it did go multi-platinum, which is still a success. But it didn't have that hit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the debut album, there's a couple songs, and I absolutely love it. I mean, you can probably see the poster
Oh
behind
yeah.
me from it. I love the debut album, but there is a couple songs that I would skip over if I listened to
Okay.
it. Here I Am. It's just, it's a good song, but it just doesn't do anything for me. Can't Stand a Heartache. It's a good song, but it is more to me what they were a little bit prior to that, because if I mean you look, the song Forever that they did that came out on 40 Seasons,
Okay.
that would fall in the same line as those songs, but much like Wild Side later, they wrote more songs and they were a little bit heavier or possibly better, depending upon who was listening. So
Hmm.
they had to replace some stuff.
Right.
But if I'm listening to Slave to the Grind, I don't skip anything.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting.
So I think it doesn't have the hits, but I think the overall quality is superior.
I
I
can,
think the track
yeah,
listing is
I can
superior.
agree. I can agree with that. Certainly, production wise, I agree with that. But to your point of the hits, as far as the rocker hit, I agree with you because I think they had the ballad singles that was perfect. What Wasted Time, and I
In
guess
Darkened Room.
yes, yeah, and those two absolutely amazing guitar work in those two songs, absolutely amazing. But that those are ballads though, and we're talking 1992 when those came out. So where is that rocker hit? It's not Slave to the Grind. I hate to break it to people. Like that's
No.
it's that it's a song. It's a good deep cut song, but it's
Yeah,
not a
but
single.
I mean it's borderline thrash metal. I mean it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
you're not getting that on mainstream radio. So then you come back to you have Monkey Business, but and I did hear that on radio, and it is a great song
yeah.
and one of my favorites. But is it something that has that hit appeal? No, it
No,
isn't.
no, yep. I agree. That's I agree with you. That's the loss there. Those two fast tracks are not the singles that you needed. I don't know what you would put. What would you put off this album as the first single then? Would it be Beggar's Day? Would it be
I would almost say Riot Act, but
really?
that wouldn't have gotten mainstream radio either because of the lyrics.
Yeah.
Um, or you could say Mud Kicker, but I mean I love that song, but I'm about one of the very few that I know that does love that song.
Well,
So
to your point, the last two tracks that you just mentioned, I skip on this album. So yeah, it's like where is that? What the, I was gonna
it's
say,
it's it's certainly not Psycho Love, although I love that song. It's not The Threat. Uh,
Living on the
it
Chain
just
Gang,
it,
like
yeah, it just doesn't have that. It doesn't have that Youth Gone Wild or
yes,
that 18 in Life or something of that nature.
I agree. Man, that's a very well. That's a good point to both sides to counter that. You're like, oh, and that still went platinum without that hit, like that in 1991. That's still awesome. Like there's two different sides to that coin there because like you're like, oh man, that could have went 5 times platinum if it did had that hit or that song,
Right.
and but it didn't, so it's only went 1 times during the 90s, and like, yeah, that's still a success, but coming off of multi-platinum with the debut, yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
tough call.
mhm.
So, all right, brother. That is gonna. I think we're gonna wrap up the casino. I hope we got some winnings for you tonight. But my man, thank you so much for coming on, Jay. And can you please tell where people can find you at?
Oh, well, I'm glad to have been here. Find me on X, find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, and you know, I you can find me hanging out in my corner on Hairband Basement.
Good deal, man. We will certainly have you back. This has been fun, man. Definitely, we're gonna have to toss maybe some Kane Roberts down the line. We might have to do something
Absolutely.
like that. So, all right, Jay, my man, thank you again. It's been awesome. And
Yeah, it's
guys,
been my pleasure.
yes, sir. Yeah, guys, let us know in the comments what you guys thought of this pool, this haul that we left with at the casino tonight. Did we get some winnings or did we come out with some losses? Tell us we went red or green. So, guys, until next time, stay out of that collateral damage. That's Jay. I'm Crash, and we will see you guys later.
Yeah, I wrote that. It's called I Want to Rock Your Body. And then in parentheses it says to the break of dawn.